Welcome to Contractor Stories. I'm your host, Jim Klauck, and behind every great home service business is a person who took risk, picked up the tools, and built something from the ground up. Today, I'm sitting down with Kenneth Quirk from Lincoln Heating and Air to hear Kenneth's backstory, unpack how he got into the industry, and discover why or his why behind what he does every single day. Kenneth, welcome to Contractor Stories. It is great to have you here.
Thanks, Jen. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. So, the first thing I want to talk to you about, okay, and we'll get into the business and your volume and what you guys are trying to achieve.
Yeah.
But I just love a legacy family business. 30 plus years. Your father started this business. It's a family business. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. He started it. It would be inaccurate to say it was just him, though. It was him and his wife, Danielle. They started it together in 1993 from the kitchen table, and they decided they needed to do it because they needed to make more money. Robert was an HVAC technician at that time. He had been for several years, but they had four kids at the time and he wanted to have more and thought, if we're going to support a larger family, we're going to have a larger income. And they thought going out and starting their own business would be the way to do that. And so that was the birth of Lincoln Heating.
I love these origin stories, um, where there was a need. It wasn't that, "Oh, we wanna be, the premier HVAC company in Nevada or in Reno. We wanna feed our kids," right? So,
Yeah,
it's it's one of those stories, but
exactly.
now you're well fed. You guys are, like, doing about $10 million a year, which is huge. And being a company that's been in business for over 3 decades, that makes you guys pretty solid, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're definitely a presence in the community now. We're a top 5 contractor any way you look at it, number of technicians, reviews, vans on the road, all those things. So it's very cool to be in that place. Most of Lincoln Heating and Air's history was we were a very small contractor, and that changed really in about 2015 when, not to toot my own horn, but when I came on as general manager. I'm Robert and Danielle's son, so I grew up watching them, watching my parents work incredibly hard. I went to school for business management,
Mm.
and I came and joined the team full time in 2015 as the general manager. And so, uh, Robert, Danielle, and I have really we cover up each other's weaknesses and make a really solid team. So we've had a lot of growth since then. In 2015, we were at about 2 million. So
Yeah.
in those years in between, we've grown it to 10.
Phenomenal growth. I like the way you complement each other. Um, I don't know about your, parents, if they went to college, but you going to college, is helpful because it brings another perspective. And we hear that quite a bit where it'll be a third generation company and the second generation did better than the first. And, they sent their kids off to college, first time maybe, and they came back with a little bit of a different view on things and some knowledge. But don't get me wrong, I majored in marketing in college and I learned almost everything after I got out of it. But there's something about going to school for at least 4 years from like 18 to 22 that can be beneficial if you can afford the time and money. And I think that's
Yeah.
true for you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Getting a degree was very helpful to me. I will say nothing can replace the school of hard knocks and just
Mm.
getting in and experiencing business. I definitely made mistakes. I didn't come in as some super savior and everything was wonderful. We actually were in really bad shape right before COVID. And then, like a lot of contractors, COVID actually was a huge boost for us that kind of got us out of the paycheck or the payday to payday. I remember calling my uncle and telling him, "Hey, I cannot pay you this week. We just don't have money in the bank.
Oh, no.
Can I pay you next week?" And he said, "Yeah, that's fine." Robert and Danielle had pulled a bunch of money out of their house to keep the business going. We were in really tight straits, and now it's very different than that, and what a comfort that is. Of course, you always have problems, but that's one problem I hope we never have again.
I think it's important to have these problems. I don't believe you're a real business unless you lay awake on Thursday night wondering how you're making payroll Friday. That's that happened to me in my business. It happens to, the best of them. Some of the best companies started off in a garage. We hear these stories, and it's not like a silver spoon. It's like ditch digging, right? It's a totally different thing, and it can take not 5 years, 10, maybe 15 years before things really take off, and a lot of the big companies we've heard of didn't take off right away, like the Subway restaurant chain. That started in the '70s,
Yeah.
but didn't really take off until the '90s, I think. Starbucks, it
Yeah.
didn't take off till, a decade or 2 after. And so some of these things take a while, but once they hit, right? Once you don't go out of business at that 5-year mark where like 80, 90% of all businesses go out. Once you pass that, and then you get to the 10-year mark, there's still issues, but you get to that point and you're like,
Yeah.
don't want to be too cocky here, but we've learned a lot. We've saved some money. We've got relationships with banks maybe and suppliers, and we know more about HR, and, now we do our own maintenance on trucks or whatever it is, and we're able to save
Right.
money and, be more efficient, and then you're like, "Now we can really scale." Is that where you guys are?
Yeah, I think that's accurate. We spent a lot of years with Robert, and his brother David surviving just through pure work ethic. Just no one on earth was gonna outwork those 2 guys, and they did that for 20 plus years.
Mm,
And eventually, when I came in and Danielle, Robert, and I teamed up, like I said, we kind of cover each other's weaknesses. Well, Robert's an exceptionally hard worker. Danielle keeps us looking professional, holds us to a standard that's better than the standard blue collar man. And and I brought some of the business knowledge, and honestly, I'd say the biggest thing isn't so much my knowledge, but that I came in with the vision that we need to learn from somebody how to do this the right way. So we joined best practice groups. We got a business coach. That was actually Danielle's idea, and those things transformed our thinking into saying, "Well, there's a better way to do this." And so we continue to go to best practice groups, and they help you understand how to take care of the customer better, how important your call center is, and the reputation that home service has of a customer calling and asking for help, and then no one follows up with them. Like,
mm.
how frustrating is that for the homeowner? And just tweaking those things and becoming exceptional at follow up grows your company a ton because people don't expect it. And so they're wowed when it happens. And it should just be doing your job, but they're wowed by just someone doing their job. And it becomes really easy to grow a loyal customer base by just meeting expectations or doing what you think would be just meeting expectations. But so often people are disappointed with the performance of home service companies and their customer interactions that just what meeting expectations should be is exceeding expectations. So you get a lot of happy people.
Literally just showing up
Yeah.
is is
Yeah.
beating the expectation of the average homeowner. Um, Contractors in general do not have, um, a positive, uh, thing in people's minds. In other words, people automatically hear home service contractor and they think, "Oh, felon, they're gonna rip me off. They're not gonna show up on time. They give me a window from 6 AM to 6 PM." All these different, and they have a bad taste in their mouth even before they pick up the phone or set an appointment online. And if you can answer your phone, and I'll be careful here, with a human. Now I know a lot are going to AI, but so
Yeah.
I still like the human, And of course, I'm an older demographic, right? So, I grew up with the telephone that was screwed to the wall, literally. And, a lot of people 50 plus, they kinda prefer to talk to someone, but AI is not bad if your AI is good. If your AI is good, it's okay. If your AI doesn't understand what's going on, it's not, but answer the phone, smile while you're talking on the phone, and get back to the customer if you need to get back to them, set the appointment, "Please, thank you, what else can we do for you?" Send a picture of the technician before they come, send a text. If you're gonna be late, even 10 minutes late, "Sorry, we're missing our window," or "We promised 1, it looks like it's gonna be closer to 2. Is that okay, Mr. or Mrs. Smith?" They appreciate that, right?
Right. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I think the question of AI, is it a good thing or a bad thing, is a super interesting question. I do not think AI is to a place where it's ready to replace CSRs. We have more CSRs right now than we've ever had, but we've also added an AI on the back end so that if we are overwhelmed and all three of our people are on the phone, then it flows over to the AI and it can help. I think it also depends on, like you said, how good is your AI,
Mhm.
and are you set up on the back end for it to be helpful? To me, I think an AI is not that helpful if it's just a note taker. That's okay, but it as just a note taker to pass it over to the CSRs for a call back. Like if I'm calling Lincoln Heating and Air because I have a problem, I have a to-do list. I want to be able to cross it off of my to-do list and not worry about it anymore. So if the AI can only take a message, me as a consumer, I can't check that off my to-do list. It's not done. So I either have to call someone else or hope that this company is going to call me back, which no one is going to have confidence that that's going to happen. So to me, in order for the AI to be helpful, I actually think you need to have an online scheduler as well that can integrate with your AI so that it can schedule online. And that makes it very helpful after hours too. I took the after hours phone calls for Lincoln Heating and Air for years and years and years, like 4 years plus. And oh my goodness, that is a rough job to have. And right now, our AI takes the initial phone calls and it can just book for people right there. And so bam, they're checked off the list. There are definitely people who don't like it. We tell people up front, hey, when it's after hours and times of high demand, you may speak with an AI assistant. So we don't try and pretend like it's not happening. We let them know up front. But if they don't want to talk to the AI, they can say, I want to talk to a person, and it'll put them into a queue where we can speak with them as soon as someone is available. So we try and be accommodating to everybody. So far, I would say out of most people like it, but there are definitely some people that don't. And for those people, we try and be as accommodating as possible. But I think the positive outweighs the negative for sure if you have it connected to an online schedule.
Yeah, so in my business, um, on my radio show, we offer tracking numbers where we actually can help our clients hear what's going on. So we get the call coming through our system first, then it goes to, Acme HVAC's, tracking phone number. So they track it, but we track it first. So I hear this all the time. And many of the programs that we run to get the phone to ring for HVAC companies and generator companies and water softener companies are run on the weekends. And so CSRs may not be in the office or answering from home. It's now got to be an answering service, which I'll talk about that in a sec, or AI. You've got to be careful though. But I will say, and I've heard everything. And before AI, because we've been doing this for 20 years, before AI, I would hear that answering service and the homeowner would ask a question. And every once in a while, the homeowner would say, "Do you work for Acme?"
Yeah. Yep.
And they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, we're partner." And you can hear them kind of talking around it. I even
Yeah.
heard someone the other day say to a homeowner, "We answer calls for 200 companies." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, just have AI answer.
Yeah.
Do not have that human answer, right?" I mean,
Exactly
have
right.
you heard these
Yeah.
stories before?
Yeah, we've experienced that. We've worked with answering services before AI was an option
Mhm.
to help us with our after hours and help us with overflow. Uh, and it is really tough because they do work with so many companies and they don't integrate directly. We use Service Titan and we use Broccoli for AI, and it integrates directly with our Service Titan. And we can go in and we edit. We're always editing it, working on improving it. Something weird happens with the way it takes customers' emails. We can go in and fix it. Something weird's happening with the dispatch fees. We can go in and fix it. And once we've coached the AI, they never forget again. But you can't coach somebody who's answering for 200 companies. It's just impossible for them. So some of it's just a losing battle for them from the beginning. And sometimes with an answering service, just like every company, they've got awesome employees and they've got less awesome employees.
Mhm.
Sometimes you'll listen to a call recording, you think, man, that person's great. I wish I could hire them for my company. And then you'll listen to someone else and you're like, oh, oh, that was embarrassing. How painful that. Oh, wow, that was
Train
terrible.
wreck. Yes.
Yeah. So you get the spectrum there. Some of them are great, some of them are horrible. But as far as booking rate goes for us, when we were using an answering service, customer getting in touch with that answering service, they were booking somewhere between 50 and 60% of those calls. Right now, our Broccoli AI agent, which his name's Dane, he's booking between 70 and 80%. So it's not even close. If you have to choose one, take the time to train the AI agent. Even right off the bat, it was booking better than the answering service. So yeah, some people are less happy, but I guarantee you more the average person is more happy with the AI. It's just that it's so much more help.
It is.
Yes.
AI doesn't get moody. They don't get tired. They work
Yeah.
24/7. They're consistent. They're pretty smart, it's getting better and better, but I've actually consulted with small home service companies, like mom and pop, and they're like, "Yeah, we're using the answering service to make ourselves sound bigger." I'm like, "You guys aren't even that big. Why don't you just have it go to your voicemail and call them back?" They'd appreciate that more. Say, "Hey, it's Billy
Yeah.
Bob here. I'm in an attic right now. I will get back to you as soon as I can. We love to have you as a customer," right? That's, I think, way better than having someone say, "We answer the call for the other phone for 200 other companies." I don't know.
Yeah. I think you definitely have to think about what's your target. If the problem with a small business is they're limited in how many people they can service.
Mm,
So if you're a customer and you want to work with someone small, the cost is they're not going to be able to get out to you when it's an emergency as reliably as a larger company. So some people are willing to experience that. It's just where do you fall in the market? And I would never use AI to try and feel big. I would because you want to feel local as much as possible, which is why, in my opinion, if you were going to replace your CSRs with AI completely, I think it is a huge mistake. Maybe we'll get there someday, but I would not replace my actual CSRs in the office with an AI bot. And right now, our CSRs still book significantly better than the AI bot does. Uh, but even if it was the same, I wouldn't get rid of the CSRs because that personal touch
yeah.
is still so critical. And people who don't want to work with the AI need to have someone to go to. And the AI is limited. It can only solve the problems it can solve. It doesn't have the creativity of a human being. It doesn't have it has to function within a set of rules. Well, what about the person whose situation is exceptional and they need exceptional customer service? They need a person who's going to go outside of the rules to say, let me take care of you.
Mm.
So that's why I think if I was small, I would have a CSR. I wouldn't be trying to rely on AI right off the bat. It's a great backup.
Back.
I don't think it
Yeah.
should be the base. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that safety net for the person on on the tight wire there, right? They're up there, and I mean, it's a backup in case you fall, fine, there's something that's gonna keep you alive. So you're the kinda guy who isn't gonna get on a Southwest flight to find out that there's no captain in the cockpit, but they're gonna be like, "Don't worry, AI is flying the plane." You're like, "No skin in the game with the airline, I'm off," right? Because I don't think I would fly on a plane that
Yeah.
did not have a crew. So instead of flight attendants, they've got robots, and in the cockpit, there's nothing but instruments because don't worry, we got it from satellites and the ground. I'm like, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So human touch, I think, is so important. I mean, we could talk about AI forever, but we see these ads online, videos and even like static memes and print ads and so forth that are obviously AI generated, and some are really good. You don't get people with three hands anymore, right? So it's actually looking, okay. But a lot of that, I guess, helps even the playing field a bit. It's like when websites came out. When websites came out for the average small business owner, they could look like a bigger company. They could spend 20 grand on a website and like, oh, it looks like the big guy in town. Where
Mm.
before, the big guy had the big yellow page ads and the TV and the radio and the billboards, and there was no way to mess with that. You either had the money or you didn't. AI today, they don't even use film crews sometimes. You can have a video made purely with AI. Do you guys use
Yeah.
any of that in your business?
We haven't really used it for, video creation or content like that. Maybe every now and then we'll have it make, like, a little logo. We had it make a little logo to put on our online store on the website, but I try to avoid it still because. Again, eventually it may get to the point where you can't tell the difference, but I can still right now tell. I saw a billboard today. I was driving down. I thought they made that billboard with AI, and there's just something about it. It was for a dentist's office. Just some pretty lady smiling. She's got new teeth, but I could tell it was AI generated, and something about it just kind of turned me off. So maybe that's not everybody. Maybe some people get excited about it and think it's cool, but I think the right now where we are as a culture, most people still want some kind of a personal touch that says, "Hey, we're here, we're local." So AI has a place, but I think as a tool, I don't think it's right to be replacing the local feel. I guess it's a danger to lose your local feel if you're over adopting AI.
Mhm. And Kenneth, I'm going to assume that your primary demographic, your target is 40 plus, maybe even 50 plus years old. If you had to take like, a group, you probably want 40 to 70 or 40 just plus versus people 20 to 40. And that being said, the people who are 40 plus, especially 50s, 60s, and 70s, and these are great people who may live in their forever home. They could be retired. They're home available
Yeah.
for the technician to come, basically anytime, and they're going to get the HVAC replaced or fixed, right? They're going to get their roof fixed, the foundation, whatever. Everything's going to be perfect because they're home watching Jeopardy all day. So, that being said, those people haven't totally adopted AI, and some of them are pushing back because, well, they're old, right? And old people are stuck in old times. Do you find that's true? That is your demographic?
Yeah, and like I said, we haven't over adopted AI. I'd say the biggest place we're using it is in the call center as a backup answering the phones. We also use it to help us decide what technicians are going to go to what jobs. Those are the two main places we're using AI right now. So I don't really want the customer to experience more AI. We are adopting some AI training tools. So we have an AI simulation that our technicians can do
Mhm.
to help practice having conversations with phone number or with customers. How do you uh, come across as friendly? How do you be a polite person? How do you make sure to show interest in the customer and just so you're not a technician who shows up and is awkward the whole time and help them to remember things like put your booties on your shoes before you go inside and be pleasant and ask people about themselves. Like people want to have a positive experience. Remember, my wife recently had uh, someone out to install an alarm in our house,
Mm.
and it was like the tale of two technicians. The first guy that showed up, she ended up calling me and saying, "Can you come home? This guy is creeping me out." And then his supervisor showed up, and she called me back and said, "Oh, never mind. Someone else showed up, and it's great." And the difference was one guy would show up at the back door suddenly, and she didn't even know he had gone into the backyard. He would talk to her about, like, his trip to Las Vegas and all the really not super moral things he did while he was in Las Vegas, and just it was so terrible. And then his supervisor showed up. He would ask her, "Hey, is it okay if I go through the house to the backyard now? I'll be back in about 5 minutes to just let you know how it's going." complimentary of the decoration she had up in the house. It was just completely different experience. Same company, same day, same visit, but two different technicians. And so we want people to have that second experience. So we train the technicians on that. We use an AI. But as far as even with our technicians, we had a couple guys come to us and say, "Hey, we're super uncomfortable using AI."
Mm.
And of course, there's security concerns with AI, um, more and more we hear about scams of
Oh,
uh, scammers using AI to replicate people's voices and things like that. So there's definitely a security concern that we take seriously. So we found some accommodations for those technicians, and we're able to work it out. But it's definitely something that not everyone's just ready to dive into, and I totally get it. I totally get it. It's a scary, scary technology and absolutely has the potential to be used for bad. But it also, like everything, has the potential to be used for so much good also and improve the customer experience. So we're trying to walk that line and make sure everything we adopt is improving the customer's experience.
personally, I think home service companies need to stay personal with human touch, human contact. At the same time, behind the scenes, use AI where you need to, you know, CRMs and scheduling, whatever, okay? Back end stuff, but also start using maybe an AI CSR here and there on the weekends, after hours, whatever, and be prepared to then maybe go deeper if the consumer accepts it. But if you start to get into something to find out that you got to go back a bit, and that happens sometimes. I'll tell you a story. I don't know if you know this, but like when I was a kid, long time ago, long time ago, they came out with a video phone. It was a
Mm.
telephone, a desk phone that had a camera on it and a screen. Must have been pretty primitive, and you can look it up. People didn't want it because, if they're in, their bathrobe, they didn't wanna be they were used to being able to talk to someone without having to see them, and it never took off at the time. I mean, I'm talking about the '60s or '70s, long time ago, and they had the technology, they were playing around with it, but it's just one of those things that flopped. Amazon kinda
Yeah,
flopped with, delivering things with, drones, and it's not
right,
because I don't think it's so much because the consumer didn't want it, I think it was more FAA stuff, and they're doing more of that, but just because we've got it doesn't mean it's accepted, but you've
right.
gotta be ready for it if you need to turn it up, and I really think AI is going to a place that's gonna have to be ratcheted back, I think. Do you agree?
Yeah. I think that, I don't know. My personal opinion is I think it will be people will start to become conditioned to it. You're
Mhm.
going to experience it more and more and more places. I do think the people who are thinking it's going to completely replace human beings, I don't think it's going to go that far. I think that idea is going to be ratcheted back because I think there's something built in us as human beings that we want to work with other human beings. I don't think that will be everyone, but I think the majority of people will want the personal touch. But at the same time, I think over time, you're gonna have less and less people complaining about working with a robot and more people who have gotten used to it. Because another big part of it is typically working with a robot has been a horrible experience. You're on a call and I just how many times you call the bank and I can help you. I can help
Mhm.
answer your questions. And I just get let me talk to a person, let me talk to a
Yes.
person, let me talk to a person. Like you're useless. Well, now it's not. Our AI agent can be exceptionally helpful. And it is shocking how many things it can understand and the questions it can answer. It really is really cool.
It
And
it is.
I think less and less people will be opposed to it because it actually is helpful.
Yeah, no, it is. It's not the same old menu system it used to be where press
Yeah.
1 for this and 3 for that. It's as close as you're gonna get to a human that doesn't run out of gas or patience. It just keeps going and going and going. And, sometimes will then also connect you with a human if you ask it to, if it can, or take a message. And it's great. You know, you were talking about the human touch. I know this is a little off base, but I find it concerning that some
It's
people are
really
having relationships with AI boyfriends and girlfriends. So if that's the case, there is a segment of the population that is willing to work with or even have a love life. I mean, if you're willing to have a love life with an AI, you know,
yeah.
you're laughing, but this is happening. I mean,
I know, yeah.
I can create, my own girlfriend, if you will. I'm not sure if my wife would like that, and everything I want, and she's gonna be so nice and sweet, and she'll never have an issue, and she'll praise me, but that's kinda where it ends 'cause, like, I can't, hold her. So, that's disturbing, but let's move that into the home service business world. That means people at your office would be willing to work with AI bots, AI employees, and I think we're gonna see more and more of that where you got a manager who has these AI employees below them, and I think there's something there. I'm not sure where it breaks, how many people you have to have per AI employee. So you don't use any AI employees, now you just have humans doing some AI work.
I mean, I'd say it's probably fair to say that that Dane is an employee,
Yeah, there you go.
that's taking calls. Everything else, though, is definitely a tool that makes someone more effective.
Yeah.
Like, we have a service manager who's not going anywhere. We're not gonna have an AI service manager, but we do have AI tools that the service manager can use that make him more effective. So now he can give feedback off of an AI training rather than training one-on-one with every technician. So it makes him much more scalable. So I think that's the impact. It doesn't necessarily replace someone. It's not going to take the job of our service manager. We have to have a service manager. But that service manager can coach a larger number of technicians than he could have before. So
Mhm.
we need, maybe by the time it's time to get a second service manager, maybe we don't need to because AI has made him so effective that he can handle a larger number of technicians. So I think a lot of that is what will happen, making people more efficient. And that's a good thing because every time I have to hire a manager, I've got to pay for that guy. So my customers have to pay for that guy. So it will bring down costs for my customer when I don't have to hire a second service manager to handle the same number of technicians. So in some ways, I think it will have a positive effect. I think as far as the impact of AI on society, yeah, that worries me. Like you were talking about people falling in love with AI and stuff. And I think it's critical for people to speak about AI like it is not a person. It's not a person. It doesn't have feelings. And like I joke with my office manager because every time she asks Copilot a question, she says, "Thank you for giving me an answer." I'm always like, I intentionally don't say thank you. And not to try and be rude. It even feels weird sometimes to not say thank you. But I want to keep it clear in my head. This is not a person. It is a machine. That is it. So that's my one of my personal crusades is I don't wanna treat robots like they're people.
I
I don't
kinda
even
get
like when they were
I kinda get
sorry,
caught up
I
in
don't
it.
even
I'll say please and thank you. Um,
yeah,
if I wanna, brainstorm an idea, spitball something, instead of bringing everyone into the conference room, I can start off with ChatGPT or Claude or Google
yeah,
Gemini and say, "Hey, I have an idea." I could type in so many words or sentences, and it's amazing. I'm like, how did you
yeah,
know I was going down that road? You're right, and I didn't see that. So it can really give you ideas, and so I can't help but say, "Hey, this is great. Let's now go down this road." Right? It's just because, well, I was trained with humans, not with AI,
yeah,
and AI is always going to be new for me because of how many decades I lived without it. It's kind of like an accent. You're just not going to change your accent because you move to a new place, and so
right,
it's kind of and me. So, all right, let's switch gears here. I mean, AI conversation, we can talk about
mhm,
that forever,
mhm.
and it's great to see how you're using it in your business. Superpower, I love asking this question. Kenneth, do you have a superpower? If so, what is it?
Uh, what I aspire to, and I think that I am pretty good at it. So if I had a superpower, I'd say this. Uh, I am absolutely willing and eager to work with people who are smarter than me, even if they're hard people to work with. I want to be in a room full of experts who can inform my decision making. So when I can find someone who's exceptionally good, we outsource our accounting to a company, and they are so much smarter than me, and I love that experience. I know some people, it makes them uncomfortable to be in a room with someone who knows so much more than them. To me, I thrive in that situation, and I think it comes from I grew up, in the Boy Scouts of America, and they have this thing that they call the patrol method, and I spent a lot of time as a patrol leader, and your job is to assign tasks to different guys in your squad or in your troop. And then when it comes time to do a task, your job isn't to direct the task, it's to call the expert over and say, all right, what should we do? And he gives the feedback. And then from there, you facilitate the activity. So I feel like there's a method I learned as a kid that I loved and that we became very good at. And so as a leader now, general manager of Lincoln Heating and Air, I love having a guy who's so much better than me at operations in Ray Lyons, our operations director. I love outsourcing to an accountant that's way smarter than I am. I love finding someone in sales that is so much better than me to coach me and my team. Uh, and to me, that I believe it was I don't know Theodore Roosevelt, maybe one of the Roosevelts, who said, my job is to surround myself with people who are better than me." So uh, that's something I love to do, and am working hard to do it better. Trying to find more people that are better than me at everything.
It's smart. The smartest managers surround themselves with experts and people who are smarter than them. Um, it is so foolish to bring people in, work with people in your organization who are only as good as you, or to make you feel better, less smart than you, less experience. It makes no sense at all. Really, I think it's best to be kind of the dumbest one in the room, just like you might want to have the least expensive house on the street. They say that's kind of the best place to be. So surround yourself with better properties and your property will be worth more. Um,
Right.
it comes down to ego, and you just have to leave the ego at the door, if you will. And you're going to be more respected by everyone, especially the stakeholders in the organization who say, "My gosh, Kenneth, you're doing a great job as GM here. Look at this. My gosh, sales are up, profit is up, and you're the dumbest guy in the room." And you can say, "Yeah, well, that's good." Right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
fine.
And I've heard the saying before, the way to grow your business is by finding who, not how.
Mm,
And I think there's so much truth to that. The operations manager that we have right now, he came in as our service manager. He just exploded in a good way our service department. We put him in charge of more. Everything that he gets in charge of, he just grows it and makes it great. He's so much better than me at it, or even than Robert, the owner, at it, that having him has grown our company. And so every time it's time to cut him a bonus check, I'm like, thank goodness that we have this money to pay, that I have someone to give this to, because man, if he wasn't here helping us, it would be so much more difficult to grow. So how can I find more and more people like that? That's the main challenge I feel like I have right now as general managers. How do I find more people like that?
it's always the most difficult problem is the people, HR. It's the individual. Um, if you could have If you could replicate, if you could clone the top 3 people in your organization, the ones that you would keep if you had to get rid of everybody else, right? If you could
Yeah.
clone them, just think what you could do. And
Oh yeah.
that's true of anything. So when you see an NFL team, NBA, MLB, there are so many teams, only so many players. They get to pull from 8 billion people to have
Hmm.
that team. You can't. You don't have that opportunity because people wanna play football and basketball and baseball, and they come up when they're young, and there's only so many people playing at that level. There's a lot of
Mhm.
companies in your space, right? So you can only pull talent who are, willing to live in your community. You can go down the list, how much you're willing to pay. You're not paying them,
Yeah.
$20 million a year to play ball, right? So
Right.
it's but can you imagine if you could do all that and you were like a professional team, you'd be winning some Super Bowls or at least getting close, and that's really tough. Sounds like you're doing a great job. Your company's doing well. Can I ask you one more question here that a lot of people are talking about today, and that is PE, private equity.
Yeah.
You seem to be positioned well for someone or some companies to approach you and say, "Hey, we would love to talk about, partnering with you. How would you like
Yeah.
to consider that?" I'm sure that's happened. What are you guys planning on doing? What's your next step?
Yeah, that's a great question. We get contacted several times a week about this subject. Different people willing to partner or, "Hey, we wanna buy the business." Um, the reality is, even if we did want to sell to private equity, it would make more sense to keep growing the company 'cause, we're at 10,000,000. I think in the next 5 years, we'll be at 20,000,000, and the multiplier would be way higher.
What
So it's not like we're ignorant to the fact of how this all works. At the same time, though, I think, it's just it's w we're not gonna go the private equity route for a couple of reasons. Uh, one of them is just sort of like, all of the top companies in Reno and Sparks have sold to private equity, all of them. Uh, I'm talking top 5 largest companies in our area. Every single one of them except for Lincoln Heating and Air has sold to private equity. So it even feels a little bit personal at this point, like, you're buying up our entire community, like, we need to keep at least one local option. So that's part of the motivation, but it's definitely less than the main motivation, which is this. Robert loves to tell the story from A Christmas Carol when, um, Jacob Marley comes and visits Ebenezer Scrooge,
Mhm.
and he's talking to him, and, Ebenezer Scrooge is trying to make Jacob Marley feel a little bit better for the fact that he's in chains for the rest of eternity. And he says to him, "Well, Jacob, at least you were a good man of business." And Jacob Marley screams back at Scrooge, "Business! Mankind was my business." And Robert loves to tell that story because that is Lincoln Heating and Air's perspective. We are in business. We're a for-profit business, but why do we do it? Um, and this comes from a moral perspective, but also a religious perspective. We're a very religious family, and we believe that in the end, we be judged for the things that we do and the way we lived our life. And we can do so much more good with Lincoln Heating and Air than we can do with the money that would come from selling Lincoln Heating and Air,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. The money, yeah, we could spread it around, we could benefit a lot of people, it would be great. But every day, there are 40 roughly 40 employees that come and earn a living at Lincoln Heating and Air. And how can we impact the lives of all 40 of those people? And I'm not saying that private equity is evil and they would come in and ruin the lives of all of our people. They benefited in their own way too. But we want to be the ones doing the good. We want to be the ones, buying the diapers, boxes and boxes of diapers for the newborn baby from someone in the company. And we want to be the ones who are celebrating with them when they're taking their family on their first Disneyland trip because they're finally making enough money to do that kind of thing. Like we want to be in that and not take a big payout, go right off into the sunset and have someone else experience that. We want to do the good in Sparks, Nevada, in Reno, Nevada. And so ultimately, that's the reason why we will never sell to private equity, um, barring some extreme thing like somebody dying or something like that. But that's the plan is Lincoln Heating and Air will, as long as there's a family member who wants to take it, that it will be going from family member to family member. So
Yeah.
that's the plan.
Great answer. Thank you, Kenneth. I really appreciate I could talk to you for hours. Let's do this again sometime, okay?
I'm down. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.